Hey guys, Zangus, and today I'm going to give you a review of the GoPro Hero 4 Silver Edition. So previously, GoPro have produced loads of other different GoPro cameras, like the GoPro 1, 2, 3, and then other introductions like the GoPro Hero 3 Plus, but now they've introduced the 4, and this is their new flagship. Now, to appeal to more people, what they do is they split it into two different models. They make a black edition and a silver edition. The black edition is their very best, and the silver edition is almost at second best, but slightly cheaper. In other models, the only real difference between the black and silver edition have mainly been actually due to the hardware. So of course it still has the same body with the same case, but one of the main differences between the silver and the black is that the silver actually has a touchscreen. Now it does have the same actual size battery, but it has a 1.5-inch touchscreen on the back. Now this is the waterproof edition, so you can't actually use the touchscreen on this one, but it does come with a housing that allows you to actually access the touchscreen. Of course, on the top we've still got all the main buttons that allows you to access the actual action camera without actually taking off the housing. What's really good is that they're still making it just as easy to use this underwater, and also having the ability to take it out the case and still use a touchscreen. So the only three ports are on the left side, and those are mini HDMI, mini USB, and also a micro SD card port, which can support up to 64 gigabytes, but unfortunately only supports class 10, which kind of makes sense in a way. So even though the housing can actually go 40 meters underwater, it's actually amazingly easy to actually pop it off and actually take the GoPro out with just one click. A nice little touch is the GoPro actually comes with a mini stand, which is included in the packaging, and of course that can be used as a stand. So what GoPro have actually concentrated on is the hardware and not actually design. Now there's two reasons why I think this is a really good idea. The first reason is that they can actually concentrate on the hardware rather than the design, because the hardware is so much more important. Secondly, making the design simple I think actually makes the design quite nice, and to be honest, compared to other manufacturers that produce a lot of action cameras, I think this is one of the best looking designs. What I think GoPro have actually tried to do here is actually do a good combination of making an incredibly small design and actually produce a camera with hardware that can produce really impressive footage. The fact that they've actually managed to ram a touchscreen on this tiny camera is actually really impressive, and of course it makes it really fantastic because when you've got a screen in front of you, it literally makes it another video camera. And of course that makes it really good for new users and of course beginners as well. Just doing simple things like changing the settings is so much more easy now using the screen, but of course people that have used previous GoPros will be able to easily use just the one button on the front. Probably my favourite thing about having the screen is the fact that you can actually review the footage straight after you've watched it. On other GoPros you would actually have to take the micro SD card out and actually put it into a laptop. Now the fact that it produces impressive video is actually amazing when you actually compare it to the physical size of other cameras. Now, I'm not going to lie, it is an expensive video camera, but then again, it does actually give an incredibly small design, and that is why it's so portable and, of course, so popular. So because of that, people who actually want to record footage with an incredibly small design will probably find the GoPro is the best option. Once you've got the GoPro charged and got a micro SD card suitable, you'll find recording is actually incredibly easy, and you literally just press the big record button on the top and it will start recording. Now you can actually use a separate app using Wi-Fi, as the GoPro actually has Bluetooth and Wi-Fi built in. But what I'll do is actually make a separate video on that, so it makes it more in depth and more detailed. On the outer shell of the actual GoPro itself, it's just got a rubber case, and I think that's really nice because it just means that it sits really nicely in the GoPro case. The only disadvantage of this is that it will actually make it really fragile. Not incredibly fragile, but it just means that, say, water damage will be very easy. But of course, when you've got the housing on, it will be very durable. Looking at the really small body and of course the tiny sensor, I think it's absolutely crazy that it can produce such impressive footage. What's also great is that it has a removable battery, so of course if you do run out of battery, you'll be able to replace it really easily. Unfortunately, the battery life itself on the GoPro is probably just under 2 hours. Now I say probably because it completely depends on the actual settings you're using to record video with. Recording at 720p rather than 4K, you'll probably find that recording at a lower resolution will mean that you have better battery life. But I think that GoPro have actually compromised battery life to ensure that they can get a really tiny design. And I think that's a good idea, but for people who want to use the GoPro for more than 2 hours will probably find that this is not the right option. But then again, you can still get a GoPro and just buy another battery. What's also great is that the GoPro isn't just for taking videos, it's also for taking photos as well. There are tons of different settings, so not only can you take videos and photos at the same time, but you can say take videos and do tons of different photos, say a time lapse, and that's really cool the way you can do that. There's also other optional things like a night mode, but to be honest, I don't really find this useful, but it's nice to know that they've included this option. If you want to save battery life, you can easily press a button on the bottom left corner of the screen, and that's really good the way they've done that as well. So what you can do with GoPros is attach loads and loads of different accessories, and one of them is actually setting up an external microphone, and I've actually done an entirely separate video on that. Okay, so what I've put together is all the frame rates that are actually currently available on the GoPro Hero 4 Silver. So not only can you see all the frame rates, but you can also see the resolution supported and also whether it supports ultra wide or not. So what I'm actually going to do now is actually show you a clip that I've done myself, recorded 120 frames a second, and actually analyze how good the video is. So as you can tell, recording at 120 frames a second means you get really smooth images, and because of that as well, it makes it really good for making it slow motion. The fact that you can record this type of video on a really small device is actually really good, and to be honest, the actual footage itself is really impressive. All the colours are great, the wide angle is actually really fantastic, and of course it comes with sound as well, but to be honest that isn't so great, but that's mainly because it's shelled inside a plastic housing. So of course, because of the size of the lens, it doesn't have image stabilization, but you can still use things like accessories to make sure that all the pictures are smooth, and also you can use it to reduce any shakiness. Of course, as you can tell from this, it works really well, and of course because it is just so light, it means you can literally hold it on a long stick and you record some really awesome footage. Probably my favourite thing about the GoPro when it comes down to the video is the fact that it doesn't actually have any autofocus, and because of that you don't actually have to worry about it messing up the autofocus or actually messing up the focus at all. So because of that you can actually have everything in focus, and because of that it looks really sharp and really good. So when you do actually slow it down, the footage looks absolutely stunning, and to think this footage actually comes from a camera that can fit in literally the palms on your hands is completely crazy. Of course, you can use the action camera with loads of different sports, and I think this is why it's so appealing to so many different types of athletes as well. One of the best features, of course, is the wide angle lens, and because of that you can really just get a great perspective. Of course, when you're skiing you have a lot of reflective light, and because of that it just looks absolutely stunning. So because of that, in particularly dark situations, you'll actually find that the definition just goes down and the picture just looks bad. So because of that, it's really important to actually use a GoPro in brightly lit situations to get the best footage possible. Overall, I think the footage on the GoPro Hero 4 Silver is absolutely fantastic, 5 out of 5. The main disadvantages for me is the fact that it actually has quite bad battery life, and also the audio recorded on it just isn't good enough. What I think GoPro should do is introduce a waterproof microphone that can easily be attached to the GoPro, and that would really improve the audio. And for the design, I would probably give it 3 out of 5. Anyway, if you did find this review helpful, definitely be sure to give this video a thumbs up, and thanks for watching. A external microphone. So there's only one real thing you'll actually need. Of course you'll need your microphone on your GoPro, but it's a certain type of cable, and that cable is a 3.5mm audio jack to a mini USB. Now GoPro provides their own version for about